So you see these trees that are all cut off right at the water height? It's still 30 feet deep and 25 feet deep in there. So they just cut the tops off of the trees. Otherwise, they go straight down. It's very eerie and scary, I think. And it's called Flooded Woodlands on the map. Yeah. Imagine the snag there, right? It's just gorgeous. We just had about probably 100 geese fly over us. Yeah, you know, as they were doing that, I thought this area down here would be a pretty cool place to spend the winter with my houseboat in a couple of years, or let's say 10 years from now. Just spend summer in the off-grid property, the nice months up there, and then when it gets cold, just head south towards, you know, the middle of Mississippi and stay on a houseboat during the winter. Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of coming together in my head like that. I don't really know what I'm gonna do in 10 years, but I would never get bored of being around this area right here. I wouldn't get bored of it. And it isn't really, other than, I mean, food is pretty much what I'm paying for if I were to be on a houseboat and anchored on a beach, and gas for the dinghy, you know. I think at some point I'm going to make the change in my life to become a hunter and a fisherman. And then I'm going to spend less time worrying about food at the store and more collect and buy everything. Like apples, buy them in season where you get a huge bunch of them and then you store a bunch of them, you know, for really cheap, rather than buying them year round where they're expensive and someone else stored them, you know. And then same thing about everything else. I don't know, this is kind of just rolling in my head while I'm sitting on this lake. Very content being here, that's for sure. I mean, I could be a nature photographer and just do calendars every year like Shanna does, and just get those perfect 12 shots just around in this area all the time.
Traveling in the fried out combi on a hippie trailhead full of zombies. I met a strange lady, she made me nervous. She took me in and she gave me breakfast.
So this is rib meat done with taco sauce. Basically pork tacos, apples, onion, sour cream.
She said, do you come from a land down under, where women glow and men plunder? Can't you hear that thunder? You better run, you better take cover. Buying bread from a man in Brussels. He was 6'4" and full of muscle. I said, do you speak my language? He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich. And he said, do you come from a land down under, where women glow and men plunder?
It's 21 degrees. Very cold. Once the sun comes up, it's going to get super foggy for about an hour because the water's so warm and the air's so cold. When we ended the last episode, I was waiting for an alternator. This is the story of what happened when we received that alternator and why I'm still working on it. As far as alternators go, that's a good looking alternator. That's going to look good with the orange on the engine. It's kind of cool. Right away they came in and Greg and Chris put the alternator in. It didn't, I'll be honest with you, it didn't work the way it should right away. A couple different things bothered me about it. One, when it idled, when I idle, it's not running, the alternator's not running really high. I mean, to me, in my head, we need to put a different pulley on the system where this alternator's spinning faster than 650 revolutions, which is what my engine idles at. But what we're doing is basically you start the motor, you rev it up. Once it gets idled high enough, you can back it down, and then the alternator is going to keep sending a little bit over 13 volts to the system. And then, you know, we got the boat running, and this is what shot out of the damn motor. So the assumption is that stuff was built up in the engine, in the exhaust, when I was misfiring and not burning all the fuel completely. So because the engine starts and runs at this point without dying or sputtering, I'm going to try to leave this marina in the morning. We're going to spend one more night here and then I'm going to head out. I'm going to give you a heads up. That does not go well. In fact, you're going to see it actually goes horribly. It is 50 degrees out. It did not get cold last night. It only went to like 45 or something. So there's going to be no wind tonight. Tonight will be a good night to just go out and anchor and use the boat. And yesterday was the first day that I actually got the boat started. I've gotten to the point where, you know, every single thing we fix on the boat finds something else wrong. And I think right now we're finally done with that shit. So it's frustrating to me. So I stopped filming it. It was basically, I'm working with really nice people here and it's a frustrating situation. So filming it wouldn't have helped at all. Yeah. The one thing I do know is that they switched over my tenancy here from daily to 1 month. Basically, if you're paying $45 every day, you're going to get up to the month fee around 7 or 8 days. Main thing, I've been here 2 weeks and I wanted to be here like a week. So the problem with that is, I don't think there's a problem with that though. I've been having a lot of fun. Rivers really like the beaches. I've been getting a lot of movie nights in, and I got the boat pretty cleaned up and got stuff all put away. Look at that. There's no way to clean up the dog and cat treats. They're just overflowing in that corner there. I gotta figure out some other way to do it. But this morning I went and got propane, and we're going to take the refrigerator off of the dock power. River, you know what, man? Get back in the boat. So you see how it just goes over to the green? And you can, you know, every time I go to the refrigerator, I just look and make sure that it's green. You know what I mean? So, the only problems I have had is when it's super windy. You know, if it's super windy, it'll blow the pilot light up. That's something I gotta figure out. Maybe build something around it. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Alright, sounds good. It's going to take me a while to just be confident in the motor again. But, you know, it's all part of doing this stuff.
She walked through my fire. She danced in my hell. She carries a shotgun loaded. All my demons, she's killed herself. We're both cut from the same cloth, burned on the same cross, pray to the same God. But I never feel judged in her arms. And the way that she tastes in the car, she tastes so sweet and dark, sweet. girl. In my life, a lot of misfortune. So your sister had that bottle of wine that she let us split. My God, I think this could be it. Mama sent a postcard to heaven. I think that Dad got them to forgive my sins. I hope I never go back.
So after 2 weeks of waiting for parts and engine stuff, we are off. I am not confident enough to go through basically in the next 20 miles is 3 locks, and then there's another 20 miles and another lock. And I'm not comfortable enough doing those yet with the motor the way it is. So I'm going to spend the next couple of days on this lake, anchored out, and using the motor. I'm basically going to drive the boat every day somewhere. The other thing is, I paid the bill. All right, so the alternator was $400. Me staying here was $350. So right away, 700 of that is that. They charged me, even though Greg was working. This is what I like to hear from mechanics when things go bad and wrong and they're not fun and no one's winning and everything's taking longer than it does. What they did was they said, in a perfect world, this is how much time it would take to do the 2 oil changes, the impellers, the alternator. It would be 6.5 hours. Greg spent 3 full days working on my boat. So it wasn't 6.5 hours at all. That was very kind of them to do that. They also charged me for a month rather than by the day for the slip. So I could technically stay here until December 15th if I want. But that brings it, basically it's $45 a day, so around 7 days you hit the month marker. So they did that. So I got out of there paying $1,800, including all the fuel and the new propane. So essentially, I paid a little less than $1,000 in labor costs. And the rest were parts and things that I actually bought. So, yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't know if that's good. So, motor died and it won't start. I have very little wind. I'm trying to use the wind to get to the dock. Yes, this is the second time in 2 weeks that I am without a motor, disabled, trying to get into a marina. Because I'm going to have to turn into the wind right at the dock. Which means I may have to just throw an anchor out. We'll see. This is a skill every sailor should have to be able to do this. However, I don't want to be doing it right now. Obviously my mind's racing. We just spent 2 weeks fixing the boat and I used it for less than 10 minutes and now it's in the same exact position it was when I came in. Even worse. Yeah, it's frustrating. Okay. Now there's something really cool about old boats. It doesn't know whether it's in gear. So if I have to, I can turn the propeller by turning the starter. Just put it in gear and then hit the starter. So I may need to do that in order to go upwind right here for a second. We'll see. There's a small window of time when I make this last dock where I'm going to be going directly to the wind. In that position, I may have to run the propeller by hitting the starter while the boat is in gear. I'm also going to lose wind right when I go behind the dock right here with that big houseboat. So we're going to have to bring some speed through there. Essentially, the safety catch that you have on a newer boat where it won't let you turn the key when it's in gear is not available on old boats like that. You used to be able to accidentally start the boat and it would just drive away as you're doing it. Yeah, so now the starter's kicking out. So I have it in forward gear right now. Very frustrating. Watch right before I come into this dock, we get this little gust. Look at that, boom, and it just gives me enough speed to get past this dock. Just perfect when things work out like that. This is now me turning directly upwind, hoping that the 2 mile an hour speed of the 10,000 pound boat will carry me through this. You see how the sail is luffing like that? Directly into the wind. This is where my fingers are crossed, and everything I have is hoping and hoping that we'll get what we have. But at the end of the day, I could still drop an anchor. Frustrating. It looks like my boat's not moving to you guys, but that's what this type of sailing is, where you're moving less than a knot and you can barely even tell you're going in a direction. Right now, I bet you guys think the screen is frozen, but this is just me moving at like no speed. And part of it is just the ability to stay calm when this is happening. So it looks like I'm gonna try to come up here and tack after I get past the big houseboat. We're kind of heading right into the wind right now. Now a lot of the sailors are saying, well, you should have went straight and not cut into the wind yet until you had the ability to tack, but the water's shallow on that side, so the route that I'm coming in here is not one that I can choose. I'm gonna just spin the propeller a little bit. It gives me, a couple 100 feet every time I do that, and I'm counting to like 5 in my head while I'm running the starter, so I'm not burning out the starter. However, it's not good to do this. It's definitely an emergency situation, and you shouldn't just be moving your boat around by using the starter. The editor side of me wants to take the 20 minutes that it took to get from here to the dock, just so you guys can see how slow and and how long it takes to do this type of thing. Um, but no one's gonna watch a 50-minute show. When I do editing, it's kind of funny how many things actually fall off. For instance, in my in the Pickwick episode, I had a song $99. I got 99 problems, right? And I played that, and I don't think anyone realized that I edited out the 99 in order to show on the washing machine that the minutes on the washing machine was 99 minutes. So I think a lot of the time that people put into editing and making it so you're there in real life at real time kind of falls dead on people watching at YouTube, and I'm gonna try to make you guys see it. Greg and Chris what happened, and right away I got a pushback. Well, it's Friday, which, is another 3 days before we really do anything. And then about 10 minutes later, Chris came down and he said, we have to put a resistor on your coil. Essentially, the coil was getting 14 volts, and it should run at 12 volts right away for a minute, and then it should work its way down to running at 9 volts. And essentially, we didn't have that in the system because we removed it when we removed the alternator and the external voltage regulator. And so he just asked me to run to Napa for the 8th time, getting parts, and I ran there. The guy at Napa's awesome. I've told you about him. He knew I was coming and had the part, and I came back, and then me and Greg, me and Chris and Greg put the piece in, and we debated, that this is the first time I actually just kind of pushed back on him, because I was like, I'm frustrated. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of frustrated. And I was like, okay, but explain it to me. Like, why is this happening, and what's happening, and make me understand it, is where I was at. And then we got to the point where they explained it, and I'm kind of worried that I was sent off without doing this, but in their mind, they thought the coil had it built in, or that the wire had a resistor built into the wire, and then me running fried all the shit that we just put in it. So the spark plugs are all fried, the distributor, the points are fried, and I have to replace all that stuff again. And of course, now it's gonna be Monday before all those things come in. But essentially, that same day on Friday, me and Greg put the I'm just frustrated thinking about it. Put the resistor in, and then we went and took the boat for like a half an hour drive, and the boat didn't run perfectly, but it didn't have the problems that it was having before. Now, I don't know how any of this equates to why did this happen a while ago, and why is this a new problem? Is this an older problem? I feel to me like this is a new problem that we created while fixing the old problem of not having an alternator, but I don't know. So where we're at right now is I'm stuck here for another weekend, and on Monday we're gonna do another tune-up. I mean, we're gonna replace the points and the spark plugs, and hopefully, and then we'll go out for another ride, and hopefully everything will be smooth, and we'll kind of go from there. I wanted to not have another video like this. I wanted to just be out on the lake, anchored out, and do fun stuff. And I think it would be a real huge disservice to, I don't know, hide you guys from the fact that this is going on. I mean, this is a 50-year-old boat. We're going on a really long trip, and I've technically driven it for 12 straight days on this last 2 months, and the motor's never done that before. So, kind of that where we're at. I don't know. What I'm going to do here at the end to make everyone happy, including me, is I'm going to take some... One of my best friends travels around in her car, and she's a mountain climber, and she takes pictures of her campsites, and she sends them to me every morning or every other day. I'm going to play some music, and I'm going to show you some pictures of her campsites where she wakes up in the morning and is looking out over the world. Mainly because I need that. I need that right now. I need a little bit of decent music and pretty pictures to make me feel a little better, and my friends do that for me.
I hope you know if I go there, that I'm going there for you. And if I go there, I won't be coming home real soon. We could laugh, we could shout, sing a song, get it all out, or we could whisper. We could dance, run about, you keep staring at each other's mouths, boy, go on, kiss her. It's all the things she do.